welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and I hope you've all had an absolutely brilliant Christmas time with your friends and families. Now, I've got loads of things to tell you about today before we kick off with this puzzle, which is called Nurimisaki Sudoku by Mark Sweep. Now, Mark Sweep, I'm pretty sure, is the pseudonym. Well, I think Frostini is the pseudonym of Mark Sweep. So if that's right, Frostini's definitely been on the channel a lot of times before, but not for a while, actually. And I remember Frostini's puzzles as always being absolutely brilliant. Now, this puzzle is based off a Japanese logic problem, I think, invented by Nikoli. I might be wrong about this. I've never done a Nurimisaki puzzle in my life, but I think it was invented by Nikoli. And I don't even know how hard this puzzle is. All I've got to go on is it was recommended to us once. And the testers pointed me in the direction of the Logic Masters Germany page, where it has had some comments from the great and the good of the Sudoku community. It's been solved by people like, well, the two Josephson twins, Abid Hawilla, Math Pesto, all of whom both basically wrote fulsome praise for this puzzle, so it ought to be brilliant. It doesn't seem to have many actual givens, either in the form of digits or in the form of, there are 6 circles there with nothing in them, and that's so we're going to rely on a very interesting looking rule set to solve this one. But before we get to that, I want to say a big thank you to Brennan Arsenault. Now, Brennan has sent us some music based off the Mozart theme we usually use, but with a little bit of a twist on it. Mark and I really liked it, so I'm going to include that music in today's video in the outro. So let us know what you think of that, I hope you like it as much as we do. Next, Jamie Stearns. Our most popular video on the channel is a video called The Sudoku with Only 4 Given Digits, and it's a puzzle by Ard van der Vetering, and I suppose I should give a spoiler alert, but I doubt many of you are going to remember what's in the bottom of this, but this is the original puzzle and the puzzle solution made out of cookies, believe it or not. So Jamie did this over Christmas. It looks delicious, and I want to eat it, but unfortunately I can't. But yeah, that did amuse us a lot. So thank you very much for that, Jamie. Next, over on the Discord server, this is the fan Discord server for CTC. If you're not a member of it, go over there. It's the biggest puzzle community on earth. It must be. And there has been a secret Santa going on over the last few days, where people have been trading puzzles as secret Santa presents. Now, we are already receiving bundles of these from people as suggestions for videos. Can we just ask you, if you are sending these to us, please find out somehow, it must be possible to find out who your secret Santa puzzle creator was, because we're a bit reluctant to do loads of anonymous videos without accrediting the authors of the puzzles. So if they are brilliant puzzles and you do want to send them to us, that's fantastic, but please try and find out who the author is and let us know, so that if we do decide to do it in a video, we can put that author's name up in lights. We would like to do that. Other than that, what else to tell you about? Let's do some birthdays, shall we? Jackie, it was your 39th birthday yesterday. I'm very sorry I couldn't read it out yesterday. The message arrived too late, but I'm trying to correct that today. I hope you had chocolate cake. Next, Katie, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your boyfriend Sean wrote to us, and he wrote about how much he loves you, and he also told me some news that's made me incredibly jealous, which is that I believe the two of you today are spending the day at something called Hershey's Chocolate World, which sounds like paradise on earth. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you're able to do that. I don't know where Hershey's Chocolate World is, but I'm guessing it's over in the States, and I know you've got some shocking weather over there at the moment. I hope you're still able to go, and I hope you have the time that I think anybody who goes to Hershey's Chocolate World ought to have. And also, I just want to give a quick thanks to Brian Cloud. Shout out his wife Amber and their dog Priya. Brian, your Christmas message to us made me smile, and I think you're over there in Bloomington, Indiana. Now, let's get on with some other things that I need to tell you about on the Patreon side. The Sudoku event of the year is ongoing, and this is the hybrid Sudoku hunt by Phistomefel. I can tell you that some 150 of you have already solved the whole hunt. That is extraordinary solving. Really well done. I am going to read out all your names, but I'm going to do it after we've finished reading the names for the Patreon reward for December. So this was the Cryptic Scriptures of the Secret Snake Society, where I've still got a few more names to read out. So very well done to Hannes Christian Arneson. That almost sounds like Hans Christian Andersen, but it's not. Hannes Christian Arneson, to Dougie Marshall, Paul Wright, Spencer Capera, Greg Tibbets, Emily Barcroft, Hendrik and Alex, who also told me their snake joke. What do you call a snake that's 3.14 meters long? A python. It's a bit of a cracker joke, that. Eric Bill, Dr. G, Andrew Montiglione, Ewan McNeil, Joseph Costal, Scott Wigington, Andy Omya Powell, and Barry Osborne. You all got the correct answers. Very well done indeed. And that's everything, I think. So, just going through my list of things. Oh yeah, no, and I can also tell you that, guys, it's really soon actually. The January monthly reward is another incredible Sudoku hunt. And if I was to say to you, who would you like this Sudoku hunt? You know, who would be an amazing author to create a Sudoku hunt for this channel? I think a lot of you would have Jay Dyer pretty high up your lists. Well, Jay has created an incredible Sudoku hunt for us, so that's going to be our January reward. Watch this space. Anyway, let's have a look at I have to keep saying this, don't I? Nurimisaki Sudoku by Mark Sweet. These are the rules. The rules start a bit dauntingly. Normal Sudoku and Nurimisaki rules apply. Don't worry, it does explain what they are. In addition, orthogonally adjacent cells along the Nurimisaki path, brackets unshaded cells, have a difference of at least 5. Right, okay. Nurimisaki rules are as follows. Shade some cells so that the remaining unshaded cells form one orthogonally connected area. No 2x2 region may be entirely shaded or unshaded. Circles mark every instance of a cell which is unshaded and orthogonally adjacent to exactly one other unshaded cell, i.e. the circles are the only endpoints of the unshaded area. That is a weird rule. The digit in a circle indicates how many cells are in the straight line of unshaded cells coming out of the cell with the circle, including itself. I don't have an example here, so we're going to have to try and understand this together. So the circles are unshaded. And basically, so let's make green unshaded. And then, so if it comes down like that, I think what it's saying is this is an endpoint of the unshaded region. So those 3 cells would have to be shaded, I think, is what it's saying. And also, if that is right, it's also saying that this line of unshaded cells has to obey so-called German whispers rules, i.e. each cell on this has to be 5, each digit on this has to be at least 5 away from the last digit. It's quite an incredible rule set. I don't know how on earth you create grids that obey this constraint. You can't have 2x2 areas of green or grey, so you couldn't do things like this. That wouldn't be allowed. Yes, and if that cell's grey, then this cell would be a 3. I think is the end bit of the rules. It says the digit in the circle indicates how many cells are in the straight line of unshaded cells coming out of the cell with the circle, including itself. So if this circle goes downwards, it would see 3 cells before it sees a grey. Is, I think, everything. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start with the most trivial deduction ever, which is that I know something about German whispers rules. So can you ever put a 5 in an unshaded cell in this puzzle? That's the question. Now we know unshaded cells have to obey this rule that adjacent cells on the unshaded path have to be at least 5 different from each other. So if this was unshaded, we know it has to connect to all other unshaded cells orthogonally. Orthogonally just means shares a long edge with. So, so for example, if this cell was the cell with which this circle or this 5 shared a path, this cell would have to be 5 different from this one. And that's impossible, because obviously if we go downwards we get to 0, if we go upwards we get to 10, neither of which are valid Sudoku digits. So I think what we can do is to say this cell is shaded in the puzzle, therefore I will grey it. And I realise that that is the most modest deduction of all time. My eyes keep coming back to the rules here in the hope they're going to help me to understand the puzzle. Now we know that all the circles are, we're told they are unshaded, so all of these are green. And we're told these are all endpoints of a path. Now, what on earth is that supposed to make me think about? They are all endpoints of a path. And so it looks like I'm meant to investigate this cell. That's just my feeling. If that cell was green, then the path, does that mean those have to have the same number in them, is my question. Yeah, okay, so that is a small start actually. If this cell was green, because we know these are endpoints of a path, effectively we could do that, I think. And now those two cells would each see the same total. They would both see 3 in this instance, and we can't put 2 3s in column 2 of a Sudoku. So that is a little deduction straight off the bat. We get a grey cell in this position. And that is going to matter because now this cell has to get out of its box to connect to all the other greens. And to do that, can it actually ever go towards the wall straight away? Is that the point? If we go straight towards the wall, well, if we go that way towards the wall, we'd have to go down. No, well, that doesn't work. Right, I think this cell is grey. I think. I might be wrong because I'm interpreting the rules on the fly here. I just want to show you what I think this does. If this is green, because this is an endpoint, those two become grey. And this has to escape, so it has to go down. But now this has to be an endpoint, so those two have to be grey. And now surely those two cells have the same number in them, because they both see 2 cells in the direction away from the cul-de-sac that they've been consigned to. So those would both contain 2, and that breaks the puzzle for exactly the same reason as as I was able to say that this cell had to be grey. So that cell is grey. Now, do you have checkerboarding in this puzzle? Can I now say that this... Oh, yes, well, I don't know. But I can tell you for nothing that cell is now grey. Because if that was green, it would be the end of a sequence. And it should be circled, shouldn't it? I think it said that... Let me check. Circles mark every instance of a cell which is unshaded and orthogonally adjacent to exactly one other unshaded cell. So if that was unshaded, we'd have to do that. But now this is an end. It's a cul-de-sac. And we can't put greens in cul-de-sacs unless they're circles. So that cell's grey. So this one either comes out this way. Now if it goes up and turns right, let's have a look at that. If it does that, this would be a 2. So, okay, so this would be a low digit. So let's just think about German whispers. I mean, there are secrets to do with German whispers beyond the fact that you can't put 5 on them. The other secret is that you get the oscillating polarity principle applying. Now, what, you may say, is that? Well, let's think about the nature of this line. If this was the green line, this cell here would be a 2. So what would be the nature of the next cell along the line? Well, its nature would be higher than 5, because this has to be 5 different from 2. And even if this was 1, 5 different from it would still be the other side of 5. It would still be 6. So this digit has to be higher than 5. But then whatever this is, this digit has to be lower than 5 again, because it's going to flip the other side. So you get oscillation. So those two cells would be higher than 5. This cell would be lower than 5. But the problem is we have such little. That cell would be grey to avoid a 2 by 2 of green. That cell then couldn't go that way because it would also be a 2. I'm not seeing how to disprove that. I imagine there is a way of doing some disproving to do with that deduction. It just feels to me, well, I suppose let's just think about it. If it goes that way instead, it just feels more flexible because it can go as many as it likes this way. I have a feeling if you do a lot of Nurimisaki puzzles, there's probably several things you can instantly do with just the geometry. But unfortunately, yours truly has never seen one of these before in his life. And so, what about that one then? What's this one doing? That could either go left, it could go up, or no, the thing is, it can. If it goes down, it could be anything, couldn't it? A corner's difficult in this puzzle. If that cell... alright, there's a little deduction. That cell, I think, has to be shaded. If this cell was unshaded, then in order to make it not a circle, it would have to have a cell going into it and a cell going out of it, and that's going to create a 2 by 2. So I think that cell has to be shaded. But that's not going to apply, is it? Here, that could be green, because that would cause that, and that would be shaded. Yes, okay, so it's only where... Oh, is that shaded as well then? Yeah, yes, sorry, and I could have done this before, I just didn't think of it. If that cell was unshaded, it would be a circle, because it would have to connect to its friends, and it would be a cul-de-sac. Right, so that cell's grey as well. The greys don't have to connect, do they? There's no sort of yin-yang or cave logic here. I don't think there is. It just says that the unshaded cells form an orthogonally connected area. So so what does that mean then? I've got to make sure these are different. I've got to make sure these are different. 5. Is it something to do with where 5 goes in box 1? Box 1's 5 has to not be on a green cell. Okay, so it can be here or it could be there. It depends where the green goes. Yeah, okay, so if we can get more 5s in the grid, that would be helpful. But at the moment, I think 5s... I'm not entirely sure what this is doing here. It's probably doing something to do with this one, isn't it? Why is this one under pressure? That digit is now... okay. 1, 2, 3... No, it can still be a 6. I was going to claim that this digit had to be low. But no, I think it doesn't have to be low. It could be... Oh, see, it can never be a 1. That's a fairly obvious point. It can never be a 1. You can never put 1 in a circle, because that would be saying the only cell seen by the circle was itself. And it would be, if that was a 1, it would be entirely fenced in by grayification, thereby breaking the actual thing about a circled cell, which is that there is one orthogonally green cell next to it. Okay, so that means each of these cells is at least 2. Now, if that was going west, it would be a 2. If it's going north, it would be a, well, it could be a 2 or a 3. And if it's going south, it could get as high as 6, I think. So I can't say that this cell is necessarily a low whispers digit, but hang on a minute, that's not a stupid thought, is it? Let me just, oh, that one's different. Oh, right, okay. Here's a thought. What about bishop's moves? That may seem crazy, but bear with me here. So if we think about the nature of a German whispers line, as we move from cell to cell, it's always going to be cells, you know, that could be moved to by a bishop, a chess bishop in this cell, that are going to be the same polarity. So if you can see it here a bit, if the green line goes up and then across here, these two cells are going to be of the same polarity. They would be on the same bishop's colour, the same colour of a chessboard. These two would be on a different colour to this one, but they would be themselves the same colour, so they should have the same polarity. And it doesn't matter how this line moves, how complicated its path is, that's always going to be true. Because you're never able to sort of break the polarity. That would break the polarity if the line could do that without an orthogonal connection between these two cells. But we can't do that. We know that the whole green line is orthogonally connected. So I think, based off what I just did here, let's just check, that and that are on the same bishop's colour. That, you can see, is the same as bishop's colour. It sees if there was a chess bishop here, it could move to this cell and this one. And a chess bishop could just easily get to this one. But it can't get to that one. So those ones are all the same bishop's colour. Now, why do I think that's interesting? Well, if they're the same bishop's colour, they have the same polarity on the whisper, which means they're either all high or they're all low now. But this one is definitely the opposite. Oh, that one's very restricted as well, look. So if that one goes west, it's only a 2. If it goes north, it's a maximum of 3. If it goes east, it's a maximum of 3. So if we can prove that this one can't go down, then we'd know that all of these ones have to be high. This is what a beautiful, this is such clever setting. It is such clever setting. I now know that orange digits are low for the following reason. Right, let's say for a moment orange was high polarity. What would that be? Well, it's that we know that actually is a 6 then, because we were looking at that. That's what got me on this train of thought. This would have to be a 6 because remember this is a cul-de-sac, so we can't sort of make a stripe like that. Then this circle would not be a cul-de-sac. So the only way of getting this to be high polarity is to make it a 6 and extend it down to there. But in doing that, this is a cul-de-sac and goes this way. So this should be a 2, and yet it's meant to have the same polarity as this. That's not going to work. So orange polarity is low polarity. All of those cells have to be 1s, 2s, 3s or 4s. I was about to say they can't be 4. Oh, well, they can't be 1s for the reasons that we said before. I was going to say they can't be 4s, but that might be wrong because they are cul-de-saced, aren't they? We don't know about that string up there. But because if this was... Yeah, no, you can... 4 is normally a very difficult digit to put in a green cell because, of course, 4 only has one natural partner along the green line. because it has to be a digit 5 away at least from 4, and the only valid Sudoku digit is 9. So you can never put 4 in the well, you could put 4 in the middle of a whispers line, but only in very specific wiggle places. So if that was a 4 and the line went like that, those two could both be 9 and they wouldn't see each other by Sudoku. But 4 is normally hard, but because this is a cul-de-sac, if that was a 4 and that was a 9 and it was green, then that would actually work. So you can't take 4 out of these squares. This one has to be opposite polarity, so that's 6, 7, 8 or 9, and it can't be 8 or 9 because in fact we know which direction this goes in, because if it goes up, if it goes north, east or west, it can't reach a count of 6 because it is a cul-de-sac. So all of those have to turn grey. I love this. This is just brilliant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it goes at least to here. So all of those are green. It could come to here. This one is now definitely going that way. So we can frame that in grey. That digit is 6 or 7, depending on whether it takes this cell. That digit is 1 or 2, because it's got to be 5 away from 6 or 7. It's low. This is low, so that's okay, that's 1, 2 or 3, I'm going to say. It can't be 4, because if it was 4, you would have to double 9 both sides of it. These 9s would see each other by Sudoku. That digit is 1, 2, 3. That could be 4. Actually, that could be 4. I was about to say it couldn't be 4, but it actually can be. If that was grey and the green line continued in that direction, then they could both be 9. Bobbins. How does this green line get out? Well, it's got to go through that little tunnel we've just created. So all of those are green, and we can do shading. Those two have therefore got to be low. That cell's got to be purpled. Those have got to be purpled, haven't they? These have all got to be oranged. So we're going to create a sort of internal chessboard in our puzzle that's going to help us. I've got loads of... Well, that's beautiful. That is right. That cell is grey. Because watch this. If this cell was green, what colour is it? Well, it's not only green, that's the point, it's also purple. And that would put 4 purple digits in this column. Sorry, 5 purple digits in this column. And there are not 5 purple digits, because the nature of a purple digit is that it's a 6, 7, 8 or a 9. And there are only 4 such digits that meet that criteria. So that cell is definitely grey, which doesn't, well, it means this is more likely to be 4 than used to be the case. These squares are now 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 5 is now in one of those two cells in column 4. And that is a 6, of course, because it now is only seeing 6. So we can put the 6 in, get rid of those 6s. 6 must be next to a 1 on a whisper. Get rid of 1s in these cells. Oh my goodness me. I don't know what else we can do. Probably something. Let me think. This is now a 2, 3 or a 4, which is going to spin it out this way. If it was a 4, that would then be going downwards. I see, but it doesn't necessarily have to stop, does it? It could carry on. So that maybe that could even be a 4. No, because that would put 9 here and 9 here. So that would have to be a 2 or a 3 going downwards. Right, hang on. That's a 2. Because whichever way it goes, it's penned in. So that just is a 2. Which means that's not a 2. Okay, so that is 3 or 4 now. What do we do with this newfound knowledge? Can we do anything clever? Maybe, I tell you what I might have to do here, and that's to actually fully label up my orange cells, just to see. See, that could be 4 still. It could have 9 there and 9 there. That would put a 9 here. Wow. Is it... Right, here's a small point. That cannot be 7. Because if it was 7, those two cells would have to be 1 and 2. They're the only digits that can be adjacent to 7 on the Whisper. And the 1 here prevents this from being a 1-2 pair. So that is now 8 or 9. Oh, for goodness sake, right. Why do I see that, but not that? Why? What is wrong with me? Okay, well, let's use exactly that logic on this cell. The only digits that you can put next to 7 on a German Whispers line are 1 and 2. Now, if I made that a 7, there are 3 digits that would have to be 1 and 2 in box 5, and you can't make 3 digits equal to, or 3 different cells equal to 2 different numbers without breaking the rules of Sudoku. So that's not a 7 either. So that's the 7 in the column, which must be flanked by 1. Oh, I see. It must be flanked by 1 and 2. So look at this. That cell, which has no capacity to be 2 anymore, must be 1. So that must be 2, which means that's not 2, which means it's extending. It's got to go here now. Our Nurimisaki line has to go here, which now has to be a 2, 3, or a 4, because it can't. We know it's an orange. It's orange on the chessboard. Okay. I don't know what that means yet, but that's quite exciting. Oh, 2 is in one of 2 places in box 3. Can we... can I detect... Now, if that's... Oh, no, that might be able to be 8. If it's 8... Yeah... It couldn't be next to 4, but that could be a 2-3 pair. If that... No, that's 3, 8, 9 works. Okay, sorry. I have a feeling there might be more Whispers trickery we can do in column 4. But unfortunately, my brain is not revealing to me how to... Oh! Ah! Okay, no, it's straightforward. That cell has got to be grey. Because if it was green, that would be a 2 by 2. So that's got to be grey. And now how does this one move? It's a 3 or a 4, so it can't go west because it would only be a 2. So that goes south to at least here. This now is a 4 because it sees 4. So that cell's got to be grey. That cell's got to be grey to make sure that this is in a cul-de-sac. What a rule set this is. That's not a 4 now. So this is, well, that's orange. So that's 1, 3, or 4. Now, if it was 4, does that mean it has to be cul-de-saced on a green line? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I'm wondering about positions like this, whether that would work for 4. But that definitely cannot be a 4. Because it wouldn't be able to be a circled 4. It couldn't be the end of the line. And therefore, how would you put 2 9s around it such that those 9s didn't see each other by Sudoku? You couldn't, because this would be a 9. Therefore, these 2 couldn't be the extension of the green line. This would be the only extension, and those 9s would see each other. So that is not 4. That's 1 or 3. Therefore it's orange. Let's actually do that. That's definitely purple, which means it's definitely, well, it's not going to be able to be 6 or 7, because in fact that's an 8 or a 9, isn't it? Because if it was 7, it would need to only be next to 1s and 2s, and it can't be. 8 I think will work with 3, 2, 1. 8, 9 pair in this row. Avoid a 2 by 2, so that's a grey. Good grief. This is not a checkerboard. Sorry, not an endpoint. So this needs to go further. Which feels surprising to me, but okay, maybe that's not. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised by that. And apologies, I now feel that I'm getting shouted at. I probably deserve to be shouted at, but as I say, I'm not familiar with these rules, and I can't... I guess I've got to get the path down into... That 2x2 cannot all be grey, can it? So the path of the greens has to come down here, but... Oh, okay. Okay, that is not such a stupid thought, then. How does that turn that way? There's my question. If this turns this way... Oh, no, hang on, maybe it can just... Well, okay, maybe it can turn that way. But what it absolutely must do is turn this way, is going to be my contention. Because if neither of these green cells came into box 7 at all, then when this one comes down to collect something down here, there's going to be an end of the line down here, and that's not going to be allowed. There's going to be a circle, I think. So I feel like this has to connect to one of these two cells. I guess it doesn't have to be that one, but that might be wrong. What if this line suddenly turned off here, and that line turned off there? Have we made any more cul-de-sacs if we do that? And then that could go down there. Oh, and then that would be a cul-de-sac again. Oh, hang on. Okay. So maybe I have a feeling that cell has to be green. It's just a feeling. I'm not prepared to commit to it, but I'm going to be very surprised if this cell is not green in the solution. Because if that's the green, then that can't be green by checkerboard, by 2x2 logic, which means that's formed a path. And then I don't understand how you get a green now down into here without it being an endpoint. I think that must be true, actually. I'm going to go with that logic. So that's green, therefore that's avoided 2x2. It doesn't tell us actually how this green enters. It could still do a big loopy thing. But that cell is now purple, and therefore it's a high digit, 6, 7, 8 or 9. It's not 6 because it can't be next to 1 on the line. So that's 7, 8 or 9. And... oh, I've got a 4 in the middle. That's doing my 8s and 9s. 4 can only be next to 9 on the line, so that's a very simple deduction. 9s and 8s get done. 8 can't be next to 4, so that becomes a 3. Oh, this is beautiful. Good. Oh, this is huge as well. This is huge, because not only do I get all those digits, but I get the length of the greenliness that is. That's grey. This can't be an end point of the line, so the line's got to continue down here. Now... oh, this is sick. Right, okay. Well, that's now not green. For a rather beautiful reason. If it's green, it's the same colour, look, in polarity terms as these 3 digits. So it would have to be a 4, and it must have 2 9s surrounding it on the line, and that's going to break the rules of Sudoku. So that cell is grey. This green line must come round here, otherwise that's going to be an end point, and that's going to be an end point. So look at this, we've built an entire loop section down at the bottom of the grid, which we can of course then shade in our colours, so we can do all of the shading. We can... that can't be a 4 now, because 4 can't be next to 8 on the line. So, do we know any more about the world than we did before? If that was a 7... that wouldn't have a valid fill, because it would have to be 3 or 4, and 3 and 4 are not 5 apart from 7. There is a knowledge bomb for you. So that is now an 8 or a 9. Let's actually just fill the digits in. These are 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now you can't put 4 there, it would be surrounded by double 9. Can't put 4 there, can't put 4 there. All of these have to therefore be 1s, 2s and 3s. There's a 1 and a 2 in column 3 already, so that's a 3. There's a 1, 2 pair in column 1 now. That square's got to be an 8 or a 9 to be 5 away from 3 at least. So there's an 8, 9 pair here. So this, and that has to be 7. If it was 6, it would have double 1 surrounded. This is just brilliant. This is quite brilliant. 7s are in one of those cells. 7 by Sudoku goes there. 7's over here by Sudoku. That square is high. And it's not 8 or 7, so it's 6 or 9, I want to say. Now, can it... Oh, it could be 6, look, because it could have double 1, those positions. I think. That might be wrong, but that feels... It feels reasonable to say that. This 8 is doing some more work at the bottom of the grid, so 9 and 8 go into those cells. There's got to be an 8 in one of these 3 positions. Now, for our next trick, we will argue about what. What does this mean? That is a circle, so that is very much allowed to be an endpoint. No, sorry, my brain is now not telling me anything. Naughty brain. That's a 4, 5, 6 triple for what that's worth. So that's got to be 4, 5 or 6 at the top of the grid. Have I used all my circles? Oh, okay. All right. That cell cannot be green now, because by its nature it would have to have the opposite polarity of 2, which would therefore put it in the high bracket, which would make it 6, but 6 and 2 are not 5 apart. So that must be green. That must be grey. This square must be 9, because it can't be 6, because it would be next to a 2 on the line. So that's a 9. 9 is in one of 2 places in box 4. And now what do we do? We will say that this line, obviously this is not the end. This is not the end of the green. The green must go further. But do we know in which direction it goes? Is it okay to isolate a grey in the middle of this puzzle? So can that be green? Does that break a rule if that's green? This cell is then unable to connect to an edge or anything, but I think it doesn't have to. Yeah, that's probably alright, isn't it? I'm noticing now I've got some greys trapped in the middle of the grid elsewhere, so it's probably fine. Okay, so I've totally hit a brick wall. What's going on here? Does this have to extend, or does it stay still? Can I grey these out? No. Okay. Right. If I just... Right, that's not actually a bad idea. If I just double click on the green areas now, you can actually see that here, this green area actually hasn't escaped orthogonally. So something here, one of these must be green, exactly one of them must be green, because otherwise we'd have a 2 by 2 of green. Right, so either this is green, in which case that's grey, so that these would both be green. This would be a 1 or a 3. This would be high. Okay, I can't see what's wrong with that. Let's try this one instead. If that is green, that would be grey. That would be high, which would make it 9. It would have to be 9. It couldn't be 6 because it's going to be next to a 2 or a 3 on the line. So that would be 9. I don't know. That might be possible as well. Wow, okay. So this is like one of each. what I bet you there is, I bet you there are cells in this puzzle that see all the low digits or all the high digits. And then if by bishop's move they are in that polarity, we could grey them. Right, so we want to search for digits in the puzzle that see all of one polarity. Okay, I can see some in this column, but we've already coloured this column. For example, if that cell saw 8, we could grey it immediately. I mean, if there was an 8 here, then that cell would be grey because it couldn't be 6, 7 or 9 or 8, and yet its polarity, if it was green, would be high. Yeah, this is I think that's a sensible thought. Oh, 1 is over there, look. Oh dear, I've got absolutely nothing. Come on. How long have I had? 45 minutes. Gosh, that's a sign of a good puzzle. If the time taken just flies past, then that shows that this is a quality exercise in puzzle making. Oh, hang on. Right, what about these 2 digits then? By Sudoku, they're a 4-5 pair, I believe, but they're both in grey, so the only thing that's going to tell us about those, I think, is Sudoku. Now, is it the 5? Is the 5 somehow now coming into its own? I don't think so. Connectivity for this little string? That little string in the top of the grid has got to either come through that little channel or somehow... Oh, that's an end... Right. Oh, okay. Alright, that's an endpoint. So that is not providing connectivity in and of itself to get this green cell through to the bottom part of the grid. We can't go through this circle because that circle's an endpoint, but what we might be able to do is make that cell green and then make that a string of green. Okay, so if this doesn't take this cell, if this cell's grey, then we have to make those cells green. Well, maybe not that one, but definitely those, to get this green to the bottom part of the grid. Oh, I see. Oh, you see, this is something. If I knew anything about Nurimisaki puzzles, I could instantly have done this, and I just didn't. I only saw this because I was trying to imagine a channel coming through here. How could that cell be grey? I think that breaks the puzzle, because this cell's now got no ability to be filled by colour. If this is grey, it can't be green because it would be circled, because it would be a cul-de-sac, and it can't be grey because that would create a 2x2. That is weird. Right, so that's green, and that can't be an end point of the line, so it must have an innie and an outie to sort of extend through. Now, oh, well, yeah, so by the same logic, that cannot be a green circle, so we must continue it. So this is how this connects, but then how do we get rid of a 2x2 of grey up there? Well, oh, I see that. Oh, yeah, okay, we could do that in a number of ways. Probably either from this one or even from that one coming across the top. Okay, but what we can do now is to colour in this line. So both of those are orange, both of these are purple. Now that cell... No. All right, I don't know what that one is, but I do know what that one is. That sees 1, 3 and 4 and is of its nature orange. So that's a 2. Which means that's a 3 and that's a 2. Which means that that's not a 2 anymore. So this one doesn't either go east or south. It would be the wrong length. So it goes either north or west. Okay, these two have to be high. Let's just label all the options up and see what we can get rid of. That has to be 8 or 9. This square can't be 6. That's got to be 7, 8 or 9, I think. That cell has to be, well, I'm going to say 1, 3 or 4, but I can't believe it can be 4. Because there's going to have to, oh. Yeah, because there's going to be a green cell in one of these two to connect this up. And if this is 4, that's going to be a 9, and that's going to be a 9. So this is 1 or 3. And therefore... therefore what? Is it Sudoku? I doubt. Sudoku is such a fair weather friend, isn't he? I'm going to say it's a he. And, you know, he basically just abandons you at moments when you need him. 3 has got to be in one of those cells by Sudoku. So we're running out of the possibility of putting too many low digits into these cells because we've only got 4 available. Yeah, okay. So that cell... no, I was going to... I'm wrong. I was going to say that cannot be green. And I think that's incorrect, actually. If it's green, it has to be 4. That's true. And therefore, it has to be flanked by double 9. That could be a 9, and that could be a 9. That's absolutely evil. Okay, so sorry, I can't do any jiggery pokery with this digit here. Do I know what that one is yet? Do we know which direction it goes in? Of course we don't. Do we know? Do we know anything at all here? I don't. What am I meant to do? Please, brain, tell me what is going on. My brain has forsaken me. Maybe I've got to do Sudoku on this column. 4s, 5s, 6s and 7s. That's just a 4 or a 5 by Sudoku of all things. Oh, so that's a 4. That's evil. Right, sorry, I don't look for given digits because I get them so rarely, but look, that cell is, I think, a ridiculous naked single. From the column, it can't be 1, 2, 3, 8 or 9, so its only options were 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now, it can't be 6 and 7, it can't be 5, so it is 4. So this is not 4. So this is, oh, so that's 4 by Sudoku, which makes that 9 by Sudoku. There's now a 9 up here by Sudoku. Good grief. Wow. Wow. Oh, that's not 4 anymore, although I'd probably rather it was 4 because it would be so forcing. I would obviously then have to have a 9 orthogonal to it if it was a 4, but now it's down to 2 or 3. So that digit by Sudoku goes in that cell and then becomes that cell. So those 3 digits are the same. These squares have got to be 5, 6 or 7. And from that we will deduce the following. Come on, brain, deduce something clever. Come on, don't let me down. Don't let me down. You're letting me down. Ah! No, I've got nothing, have I? I'm going to have to think again. I know one of these is 8 or 9, because one of these is high to connect this one to this one, and the only high digit it can be is 8 or 9. So maybe that digit's restricted, because it cannot be 8 or 9, or 4, 5, 6 or 7. So that is 1 or 3 only. It can't be 2 or 4. 1 or 3 into this cell. Is that somehow resolved? Well, it gives me a 1-3 pair. I don't think it is quite doing enough. It feels like it... Oh, hang on. Right. This 4 is important, though. Remember that digit? I looked at that digit and said, well, that might be able to be green. Now it can't be green because if it was green by bishop's move, it would be low, and no low digits are available. So that cell becomes grey, which means that cell becomes green. Oh, and now how does this get... Oh, I see this. Right, this has got to connect to its friends, so it could still come down, although only by being a 3. 3. Oh, good grief. Right. Okay, well, it's not that. This is beautiful. This is another beautiful deduction. Well, the question we need to ask is, how does this green connect to its friends? And at this point, we can say, well, it can come down here and connect to the rest of the grid that way. The only way it does that is by being a 3 to get to here and doing this. Now, oh, am I wrong about this actually? No, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. By being a 3, this cell becomes grey, so this has to be green, and now those two cells are a 1-3 pair. In fact, and I would know the order, this would be the 3. But what digit would you put next to a 3 on a whispers line? It would have to be an 8 or a 9, neither of which it could be. So this would be absolutely impossible, because there would be a 3 in this sequence. It would have to be next to 8 or 9 in this sequence, and that cannot exist. So that's beautiful. Well, does that mean... I'm not sure we even know what this is. That's weird. That's so weird. I was going to say, all I know is it doesn't come down here. So that cell's grey is all I know. That's such a beautiful point for just giving me one greyage. That's definitely orange. That's definitely a 1 or a 3. Therefore, if that's a 3 now, it has to go right up into the corner. So it would turn, and then it would turn again. So we'd have... No, that doesn't work. I've not got enough low digits then, have I? No, I haven't got enough low digits. Okay, this is not a 3. Because if it's 3, it has to go up here now. It would have to turn, and it couldn't take this cell because that would create a 2 by 2. So it would have to take this cell. And now these two digits have to be low by bishop's moves or polarity, and they couldn't be 1, 2, 3. They'd have to both be 4. And that's clearly going to break the rules of Sudoku. So there we go. That cell is a 2. I still don't know which direction it goes in. At least I don't think I do. That cell's not a 2, therefore. And for our next trick, we will now claim... Oh no, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. Oh, right. This corner cell is not green. Because remember, in order for this not to be a cul-de-sac, we'd have to go in and out. And that's going to break this 2, which can't see all 3 of those cells. So that cell in the corner is grey. That's probably been available for ages. So this cell now, how does this green get out? It must get out through that cell, which now cannot be a 7 because it's going to be definitely on the path, and therefore needs to be the same polarity as its bishop, which is this one. So that's now 1, 3 or 4. It can't be 4 because then it would have a 9 on both sides of it. So this is now 1 or 3. There seems to be loads of... Well, I have got a 1-3 pair in row 2 now. I still have absolutely no clue how this line really develops, though. So perhaps I've got to think more about... Ah, right. What about that cell? What bishop's colour is that? Well, if it was green, it would be orange, because it's the same colour bishop as this one. Well, 1, 2, 3 and 4 are not available for that cell, so that's grey, which I'm sure does something very important, and that's going to be to do with this circle. I don't know what it is yet. I'm trying to make my brain work it out. If that's a 4, it's got to go vertical. Because obviously if it's a 4 and goes that way, it's going to become a 5 and a 6. So if it goes vertical... Right, okay, here is a small... Hang on, let me just... I'm not actually sure I believe what I was just about to say then. No, I do believe it. Right, that cell is green. And that's because, it's to do with connectivity. This cell, which is a cul-de-sac cell, cannot provide the medium through which this top green area connects to this bottom left green area. Because imagine this was grey. It's very clear to see that the only way of connecting this to this is through there, and that's going to make this definitely not a cul-de-sac. So that cell is green, which means there's definitely going to be a 2 by 2 point. If it goes that way, that has to be grey, and that has to be green. And I'm just staring at that to see whether I can see a reason that that's problematic. If this goes this way, this is a 3. It must be a 3 because that can't go all the way. That connects there. It's awfully forcing if it goes this way. Awfully forcing. I'm just trying to figure out whether I can say anything sensible about it that's useful. It goes that way. That's got to be a 1 or a 2, I think. I don't know if I can break it. If it goes that way, again, it might be able to go all 4 cells that way. I'm not sure. Oh, that's the point. Oh, wow. Don't focus on digits. Focus on colour. Oh, that's lovely. Good grief. Okay. This doesn't go sideways this way, which actually is a shame in a way, because it would have forced everything. But the reason it doesn't go this way is weird. Right. And in fact, I'm now worried I've broken it both ways round. Hang on a minute. Let me just think about this. If it goes that way. Oh, no. Oh. No, it's okay. It's okay. Right, we've got to be really careful here. It doesn't go this way for a bizarre reason. If it goes this way, obviously it's going to force this, which makes this grey. So now we've got to connect these up. So we've got to take that cell. And let's stop there and realise why it's broken. Because how could you ever now extend the green into any of those 5 cells? And the answer is you can't. Because the moment you do that, one of these 5 cells axiomatically becomes an endpoint of the green, and therefore it should have a circle. And there are no circles in there, so we can't put a green in any of those cells, and they all become grey, and I get an absolute melee of 2 by 2-age, which I mustn't do. So this is wrong. Now my moment of consternation was, okay, well, I now know that apparently that this goes upwards like this, which means I can definitely grey those 2 cells to avoid 2 by 2, which means this has to come through here. But how am I haven't I got the same problem down here? But the answer is no, providing I connect properly. If I make this cell green, then again, there is no way to stop this being a 2 by 2. Because if I try to bring the green down, that will create a circle where no circle belongs. So that is not the way that this connects. This must extend, that must be grey to avoid a 2 by 2, this must come down, and now we can't have down here any 2 by 2s of grey. And the only question then is, okay, well, can I extend green down here at all? Well, obviously not, because if I extend green there, that should have a circle. So all of those become grey. Good grief. Good grief. I mean, it's just absurdly clever stuff, this. 1, 3, 4 into that cell. That can't be 4. That would create double 9 in those squares. So 1 or 3 here. These, let's make sure we do this diligently. Boom, boom, boom. All of those become purple. That becomes that one. This square here is now 2 or 4. Please don't let it be able to be 4, but of course it can be, can it? No, I don't think it can be. No. I mean, if that was 4, the only way to connect this to this, no, in fact, it's much simpler, isn't it? This has to connect to this, so that has to be green. And now, if that was 4, that would be double 9. So that is 2, which doesn't actually resolve anything, but never mind. These cells are all uncircled, so none of them can contain a green, is my contention. So all of those have to be greyed. That's therefore got its purple flash. Let's put the options in for all the purple digits and then see what we can get rid of. We can get rid of 8 and 9 from this one, and it's next to a 2. So that is a 7. It can't be next to a 6. 6 and 2 are only 4 apart. So now this can't be a 3 because 3 and 7 are only 4 apart. So that's a 1. Does that mean that's a 3 by Sudoku? Apparently it does. That's lovely. So that square now is not 7 or 8. And it can't be 6 because it's next to 2. So that's become a 9. So we can take some 9s out of some cells by the looks of things. That can now be a 4. That square's got to be 2, 3 or 4. If this is 4, it would need to be next to 9 on both sides. So that's just 2 or 3. This can't be, neither of those can be 8. In fact, they see 8s. That one can't be 7. That one can't be 6. So that's 9. I feel like I've done a lot of 9s. I have done a lot of 9s, but not in... Right, that can't be 3 because it couldn't be next to 6 or 7. So that becomes a 1. That's great. Right, that gets me a 3 here, which gets me a 1 here and a 1 here. Now, it's great, but does it do what we need it to do? Oh, please. That can't be 3. 3 can't be next to 6 or 7. So that is 2, which means that's not 2. This is 2 in the corner. That's a 1. 1 goes in the corner down here as well. That's not 2. And let's just... That can't be 6 because it can't be next to 2. So that's 7. Very slowly. And... Is it? No, it's not surely at all. It's in a slightly floundering way. We are filling the puzzle in. How can this not be resolved? That's so mean. 3 and 4 are both at least 5 away from 9. Oh, I see, but you resolve it because it sees 4 greens. Okay, I forgot the rule. So that's a 4. So that's not a 4. So that's a 4. How many 4s have we got in the puzzle? Several. Not enough, though, to, I think, be terribly confident about how we finish the 4s. I can see there's a 4 in one of those cells. 5, 6, and... Oh, where does 3 go? In row 7. Can't go there, look. So that is a 3 of all things. Which doesn't actually seem to do anything. 3 is in one of 2 places. Oh, it could be a 3 in the corner up there. That is possible. We still might be in for a song. 3... Yeah, 3 in box 9 is placed. So we're left with an X-wing of 3s that we've got to finish off. 2 can't go here. So this, oh, I think we already knew this was 2, didn't we? And this is going to connect somehow across the top, and that's going to complete our Nurimisaki line. 5. Oh, okay. Here's something. 4, 5 and 6 are down here, look. But more interestingly, 5 is now over here. In fact, so is 6 I'm now seeing. Let's actually do this slowly then. 5 I could see was in that cell by Sudoku, so that's no longer able to be 5. 6 is now placed in this box exactly there, which means that's definitely a 4. So this is not a 6. So this is 8 or 9, I want to say. So that means that square's got to be a 6 or a 7 by Sudoku. And very annoyingly, it seems to have the capacity to be both. What about, okay, what about that square? That could be 5 or 6, okay? That's also an unfriendly cell, and these are 5s, 7s, and 8s, with that not able to be 7. Bar humbug. Can I do any better than this? Surely. What about those squares then? They are... Oh, 7, and I haven't put 7 into this box, so that's 7, that's 8. 7 goes up here, look. So that's an 8 or a 9 in the corner by Sudoku. I've got quite a lot of 7s, but not enough to be finished with them. What about then, wow. What about Sudoku on those digits? 3s and yeah, look, 6 in this column has to go there. That does give me a 3. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. And what's more, how could this now be green? It would be next to 2, and 2 and 3 are of the same polarity, so that's grey, which means that's green. Now this can't be on the path because it's a 6. And the path would then immediately stop, and that should be circlified. So the path must go here to a high digit that is only able to be 8. So that becomes 8, 9. All of these, well, I say all of these, some of these 8s and 9s get filled in. A disappointingly small number of them, I will say that. Oh dear. That square's 5 or 6. Whoa. 5 or 6 by Sudoku. I'm in definitely the wrong place on my keyboard. The only place 4 seems to be able to go in this row seems to be here, so that becomes a 5 at the bottom. Now this is a 3, so it can't be next to 5 or 6 on the line, so we must go vertical and find ourselves an 8 or a 9 up here, which can't be 9. So that is 8. That's 9. That's now 5 by the looks of things. So that's now 7. That's 6. That's 5. That's 6. That's 5. That's 7. This is 6. This is 6. This is 4. This is 8. That's 5. Okay, what's that digit? That's going to be an 8. I think we're there, aren't we? I think we've done it. 5, 6. 6, 5. 4. Looks like the Sudoku's right. Now, what I haven't checked, though, avoid a 2 by 2 here. Let's just check. We can't have an endpoint on a green, so that's grey. Can't have a 2 by 2, so that's grey. Let's complete our shading of the polarities. That one needs a purple. Now, this could be the correct solution. I realise that's not the most bold statement in the world. Let's click. Yes, I think I've done it. Mark sweep, take a bow. What a rule set that is. What a brilliant piece of setting. Just 6 circles. Blank circles, I hasten to add, and a given 5. And that produces an hour and a quarter of just absolute joy for a man. That is really, really a good trade-off. I think that is a lovely Christmas present to me. Now, I'm just trying to look at this line now and convince myself it's correct by scanning it to see whether I can see any obvious breaks in the whispers. I think all of they are clear. That's clearly an orthogonal connected line, isn't it? I'm not seeing any places where the whisper looks wrong. So I think it might be correct. Wow. Brilliant. Utterly, utterly brilliant. I love that. Let me know in the comments whether you enjoyed it. Let me know whether you like the rule set, because I'm sure that we can appeal to the better natures, the angels of the better natures on the constructing side, and find more of such puzzles. I think I remember reading on Logic Masters Germany that, was it Rockrat Zero? It might have been Rockrat Zero inspired Frostini to create this one. So there may be more puzzles of this nature already. I do not know, but what I do know is that one was awesome. Now hang around for Brennan's outro music, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.